All this has been spin and a distraction. Why?
I'm not going to fall into the trap of us being the spin meisters when CNN is one of the greatest purveyors of fake news. The fact is, it's been the same since the beginning. From the first EO to the second EO, it's one thing, Chris. It's about protecting Americans. And if anybody out there has a problem with us trying to keep Americans safe, then they need to look in the mirror and they need to ask themselves whether they are the purveyors of fake news.
Donald Trump's press secretary must only be one man, Sebastian Gorka.
Mr. Reagan.
All right, real quick, I want to introduce our new sponsor. They're called Gold Co. And if you want to invest in gold, these are the guys to go to. We're going to talk about them a little bit later in the show, or you can go to the website right now. It's MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD. Now, I know that many of you are aware that Sebastian Gorka is a very good friend of mine. So certainly you will expect that I am biased. And you're right, I am biased. But there are a few reasons why this man is such a good friend of mine and why I have such reverence for him and such great respect for him. And I suppose the primary reason for these things is something that is perhaps irrelevant to the job of press secretary, and that primary reason is that Sebastian Gorka is a very good man. I have seen this from personal experience spending time with the guy, and I'm not going to get into the details of that, but I will just say that this is one of the best men that I have ever met in my entire life. And okay, no, you do not necessarily need to be a good person to be a good press secretary. In fact, it probably helps to be a little bit of a sleazebag. A lot of the time, press secretaries have to distort the truth in order to make their bosses look good. But we are in a unique circumstance where I don't actually think that's necessary here. The whole ethos of the MAGA movement and the Trump presidency 2.0 is transparency. Everyone in this administration is for free speech, transparency, shrinking the size of the federal government, cutting out corruption, improving the economy, fixing the border crisis, and improving the quality of life of average Americans. So if it's not the fact that Sebastian Gorka is a truly good man that makes me believe that he would be such a great press secretary, then what is it? What has inspired me to make this video? Well, there are actually three things specifically, and I'll present those things in one moment. First, of course, I have to sell you something. It has been used as a store of value for thousands of years. It's known as a safe haven asset in times of uncertainty. It's breaking record after record this year, and many economists are predicting it could skyrocket even higher. Of course, I'm talking about the precious metal gold. Right now, thousands of Americans are looking to precious metals like gold and silver to diversify their savings. Even central banks around the world are stocking up on gold. It's time that you learned more about what precious metals can do for you. Visit MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD to learn more. Right now, the top-rated precious metals company, Gold Co., is offering a free gold and silver kit to arm you with the facts about how gold could potentially help safeguard your retirement. Visit MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD to get your copy of the 2025 Gold and Silver Kit free of charge. Plus, you could receive up to a 10% instant match-on bonus silver for qualified accounts. Visit MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD. That's MrReaganLikesGold.com or call 844-696-GOLD. Now, several names have been floated which are provocative and interesting for press secretary. Names like Alex Jones, who would be a true spectacle, Vivek Ramaswamy, who would be rhetorically masterful, Carrie Lake, who I think also would be great fun in the briefing room, and Peter Doocy, who would be very professional. But here's the thing. I've met all these people in real life, and there is no one, and I mean no one, who commands the attention and respect of a crowd of people like Sebastian Gorka. When Gorka speaks, everyone sits up and listens. Even rabbits and deer and chipmunks, they sit up at attention like in a Disney film. And look, this is critical. This Trump administration needs someone to communicate with the media that the American people can listen to and respect and have confidence in and believe what they're saying. And with Sebastian Gorka, you will get this better than anyone else. Not only that, but Gorka is not afraid of the media. If they say something that is not true or that is disrespectful to Donald Trump or the presidency or the nation, Sebastian Gorka will go after them like nothing you have ever seen before in your life.
Does it matter to you
from whole cloth
if leaders around Europe and around the world think that this is the efforts of a dictator gone mad?
It matters to us that people are being mowed down in mass numbers in Nice. People are being massacred on the streets of Paris, of Brussels, and we don't want that to happen here. That's what matters to us. And anybody who uses that kind of language on a duly elected, democratically chosen representative and head of government really should have their credentials examined very closely.
Was it a good idea for Don Jr. to meet with this Russian lawyer?
Was it a good idea for the DNC to send its operatives to the Ukrainian embassy?
I'm not sure that answers my question.
No, if there's a meeting that was wholly appropriate, but which led to nothing, let's compare that to the DNC sending its people to the Ukrainian embassy to coordinate Oppo attacks against our candidate. I mean, if you want to see collusion, it's in the DNC. I'm sad to see CNN fall to this. I know you want salacious, sensational coverage for your ratings, so your corporate sponsors and owners will have, more money. But that's not media, that's not reportage. It's just fake news.
Okay. I'm just going to ignore the insults because I don't think it really gets us anywhere. Again.
It's not about you. It's about actually having journalism back on TV.
Okay.
Where are the Walter Cronkites of yesteryear? This is just about ratings and money, and it's actually quite sad.
He's the president. It looks almost narcissistic, almost a bit childish to be talking the way he does in campaign mode when he's the leader of the free world.
Only to journalists who don't like him and have an agenda. Is he looking back? My gosh, I've been in this position for less than a month. We've done more work in 1 month than the prior administration did in 6 months. I mean, the number of things we have achieved, whether it's today with the coal miners pushing back on the anti-coal mining policies of the administration, whether it's the immigration reform, whether it's the modernization of infrastructure planning that we've released. It is incredible the amount of work we've already done, and to say that we're basking in a former glory, please be a little bit more factual yourselves, because otherwise you'll be accused of fake news as well. Do you really want to talk? I thought we were going to talk about real issues, like what we're doing with our allies in France.
I am going to ask you, but you're not being honest. You're not being upfront.
Anderson, how many minutes are we in?
Are you a TV producer now? You're concerned about how minutes we're
talking?
No,
I'm just disappointed again that you're falling into the fake news trap.
Okay.
You're falling into the fake news trap again, and it's sad, Anderson.
Okay. I mean, you're like shiny, you're shaking shiny objects to try to divert people, but I don't think viewers are really that easily diverted.
You know why the president's description of a witch hunt is accurate? Because there never were witches, and there never was any collusion.
Why is there this constant confusion in which the president sort of speaks, someone then has to go around with a bucket and a shovel, picking up the pieces, trying to clarify to the allies around the world as to what is going on?
Your representation is just wishful thinking. If you didn't have an agenda-driven question list, it would be so much easier to have a better relationship with you. I mean, the bottom line is read the transcript. Read the transcript of what the president said after the meeting with the prime minister. It was unequivocal. We remain committed to our ally Israel, and any solution will have to be a solution that both sides come to. We're not going to intervene. So you need to stick to the facts. Let's let the viewers judge, who decided that you are now at 13th place in national ratings, behind Nick at Night, which is at 11.
You used that line on Monday, and it was sort of mildly amusing on Monday.
Tucker Carlson gets 4 million viewers. You barely scratched 800,000.
You're a journalist, right? President's coming out. Threatening me now from the White House. In the Rose Garden, you're threatening me. In the Rose Garden. You are a punk. You're not a journalist. You're a punk. Go home. Go home. Hey, Gorka, good job.
Now, I did not tell Gorka that I was going to make this video, and he might be mad at me because I don't know if somebody has suggested that he might be asked to do some other kind of job at the White House, but as I was making my next video, a video about Donald Trump's picks for the various other cabinet positions, it occurred to me that I hadn't heard many people talk about Gorka as a potential press secretary, which is insane, because although Gorka has joked several times on his show about me being the new press secretary, which I always find very flattering and funny, we've never actually spoken about the much more serious possibility that he might actually be asked to take on that position. And frankly, I think any other choice for this job would be a tragedy. I have been on Gorka's show. I've seen him cover a myriad of topics with acute expertise, just riddling off extremely detailed explanations right off the top of his head, no notes, no teleprompter. It's amazing. He can do this, I think, partly because of a strong general education, but also, I think, because he brings on so many high-level experts to his show, and the man is truly a genius and retains all of that knowledge. So the thing is, as fun as I think that it would be to watch one of the other people that have been named as potential press secretary, there would truly be no human being on the planet who would be as effective at that job as Sebastian Gorka. So to summarize, Gorka is the best possible press secretary. One, because he can command the respect and attention of the press corps better than any person in the world. And two, because he is a true expert on every political issue in America, not to mention international issues and world history. Honestly, I do not think that there is a single thing that anyone in the press corps could ever possibly say that would stump Sebastian Gorka. Finally, I would also like to add something that I think is obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway. There is not a single soldier in the MAGA army, not a single lieutenant, not a general, as loyal and as determined and as passionate about making America great again as Sebastian Gorka. Gorka is a true Trump guy. And as I've said on many episodes of this show, this is critical. Now, I believe that Trump has done a fantastic job so far of bringing in true, loyal Trump guys into his administration. But for press secretary, this is obviously very critical. And in my view, Sebastian Gorka is the only guy with the loyalty necessary to take on this position. Now, maybe he doesn't want this job. I don't know. Maybe he thinks that he'll be of more benefit to the MAGA movement doing his radio show or, doing a show on Newsmax. But if this job is not offered to him, a huge mistake has been made. Now, again, I didn't tell Gorka that I was going to write this episode. In fact, I didn't know that I was going to write this episode. It just occurred to me as I was going through the list of other Trump appointees that, this was the only rational choice for press secretary. Oh, and one last thing. He's also really, really funny. All right, well, look, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And remember, it's not that all liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much that is not so. Good night.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars. And it's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing lose this way of freedom of ours, history will record with the greatest astonishment that those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth.